Why am I talking about CSI? I'm sure you don't have a clue why I'm talking about it. Caleb.
Because you're observing.
Yes, you're observing. You guys are going to be CSI, except it's not a crime, it's a volcanic. VSI. Volcanic Scene Investigator? I don't know. But geology is the study of the history of the earth. This stuff right here, you walk by it, I walk by this all the time. I never even pay attention to it. There are teeny little clues that tell you about how this formed. You gotta be really close, you gotta look very closely. And it tells you a whole story, but it doesn't tell you the story when you just look at it. When I used to teach geology, I would say the rocks, they talk. And if you listen to them, they'll tell you their story. Right now, these rocks are telling you a story. So, let's start with the story. Real quickly, let's start with the easy one. How did it, well, maybe I shouldn't say easy. Start with the easy one, the floor, what you guys drew. What kind of rock is this that I'm holding in my hand? That was your bottom layer. Not you, I just told you the answer. No, but you said the answer, go ahead and say it.
Sandstone.
This is sandstone, guys. Pick up this. If you're close to it, pick up a hand of sand. Look at the sand, and then look at this rock. And tell me if there's a difference. Look at the rock, that layer that you were observing. Do you see a difference? Could they be the same thing? What is the major difference, obviously? One is what? In my right hand here. One is more compact, it's a solid rock, and one is just what? What do we call this? Sand, it has a technical name, starts with an S. Sediment. This is sediment. Are these things really made of the same thing? What do you guys think? Are these the same thing? Actually, they're the exact same thing, except one thing has happened. This has cemented. So, when this formed, what do you think it was like? The environment when this thing formed, this rock that I'm holding in my hand. Rain. When it formed, it was under pressure, but where would we be when this was forming?
Underwater.
Where are we standing right now?
On a beach.
Where do you think this formed? This layer.
On a beach.
On a beach. Over time, the beach gets buried and it forms. You see what I'm saying? Does this make sense? Why is that important? Well, this layer is up higher. What does that tell you about the sea? In the past, where was the sea? This sea level? Where was the past? Sorry, where was the sea in the past? See this layer right here? And I bet you can trace that layer going up higher. What does that tell you about where this beach was? You see this layer right here, this, the sea level? Was it higher or lower? Think really hard on that. Yeah, it was higher. At one point in the time, the sea level was much higher. Yeah? And now sea level is starting to rise back again. We know because this forms at a beach. Buried. So this would have been, we would have been standing under the water maybe during the time of the eruption. You guys with me on that?
Yeah.
They're actually the same stuff, except there's a little bit more rock in here. What is mostly all this made of? You guys can't answer. What is mostly all this made of? It's the same stuff when you look at it really closely. It is all called sediment, but what is it? It's sand, but what is this sand made of?
Shells.
Shells and pieces of coral reef, okay? And it gets broken up. And then there's some black specks and some green specks. What's the black specks? Pieces of these rocks called basalt rock. And the green sand is what? We just saw it. Olivine. How come in here we don't see more black specks and green specks? This one I wouldn't expect you to know. It gets worn away faster. That's why. Okay, now, sitting on top of that is this layer. You guys with me? Now this is stuff we would talk about in college, so you guys are catching this, you guys are smart. Okay? This is the same stuff you'll learn in 101 geology. They call it rocks for jocks. Because mostly football players anyway, it's an easy class, so they say. Anyway, this is the same stuff you'll learn in freshman year if you take Geology 101. But anyway, right here, who had that on? Where's the mom? Can you throw me that rock in here again? Flip it over here. So, look right here. You guys see this? Is this a real thing or is this a piece of cement? Doesn't it look like somebody put like little cement inside there and glued it all together? Indeed, somebody did. No, somebody did not. This was the earth. How could this thing have formed? Anybody got any ideas? Remember, this was a volcano. Uh-oh, watch out for the water. tide must be coming up. So, you guys, real quick, before we get trapped here. Your answers mean everything, or we will be trapped. No. Okay. What do you guys think, real quick? How did this form then?
Compaction.
It would have been formed later on during pressure, sort of, not really. Erosion, no. Good guess. Always guess erosion in geology. You'll usually be right, but no. How? Sedimentation, exactly, except you're missing one word. It starts with a V. What was Diamond Head formed from? This was a volcanic eruption. How did these big chunks get in there? It exploded. Imagine it's blown up thousands and millions of sticks of dynamite exploding. This is what you're left with. Pieces of broken rock that was there before. You with me? Now, here's one interesting fact. This is the CSI. Are these shaped rounded or are they shaped in angles? Angles. If they were all shaped round, how would they have formed these pieces? If you see angles or if you see round, it tells you all about how this formed. Because in other places, where could this form? Where might else you find this what looks like, what we call it, does anybody know the name of this? Starts with a C? Conglomerate. Conglomerate just means a bunch of stuff stuck together. You see the angles? In a river, good guess. You would be wrong, but that's a great guess. How do you know it's not in a river? What if these, not you, you can't answer this. What would this be? Hey, if this was in a river rolling around, what would these pieces be? Would they be angled or round? What do you guys say? Round. Are these round?
No.
They are angled. They formed instantly when there was an eruption. If these were round, that means it tumbled down the stream. Instead, what happened? It blew up in the little pieces of hot dust. That's inside, that's the white stuff. Formed it together. You with me?
Yeah.
This right here shows a violent explosion. That's what I'm saying. 150,000 years ago, we're standing here. Are we in trouble?
Yes.
We should run. Would we get away?
No.
No, not at all. Even the fastest one of us, even if we swam, we'd be in trouble. In fact, this is something else you can see when we walk away. There's rocks forming underneath the water. It's happening right now on the Big Island. Does anybody know there's a new island forming? Does anybody know the name of that island? Right south of South Point on the Big Island.
Starts with an L.
Does anybody know the name of it? Who said that? Oh, okay. Loihi, right? There's a new island forming, and it's forming underneath the ocean. You can see some of this rock right here. It's called pillow basalt. Does it look soft like you're gonna lay on it? I don't know. Scientists thought it looked like a pillow. And so what it did is it was forming underneath the water. Look along when we walk and you'll see some stuff that looks kind of, if it wasn't rock, it would look round and soft. Anyway, that's what's happening here. You guys are good. Very impressive. Yeah.
Okay, so from here, the next part we're gonna go on. So we're gonna go to Makapu'u, and